Welcome back, guys. Today's gonna be fun because I'm gonna be tricking out this DIY table. If you haven't seen this DIY table before, it's pretty cool because it comes as a kit. And I already assembled it in a previous video. Go watch it if you haven't seen it already. We provide the plate, the legs, and the frame for you, and you assemble it together. This plate is pretty special because it's ground flat. Everything's been machined and milled, not laser cut or water jet. All the holes have been chamfered on top and bottom. We provided these adjustment screws so you can really tune in the top to your desire, and it's mechanically fastened to the frame. This is how we're able to get superior accuracy because there's no welding. We drag and scale it, that way it really resists the weld spatter. And it's a 1/2 inch thick, not real thin like those other tables. And we have them in a whole bunch of different sizes depending on what your needs are. Basically, you can customize it the way you want. This is a pretty unique option to get into the fixture table world at a reasonable price. But today I'm going to be tricking it out with some Dragon Wagon accessories, like the Sidekick Vise and the chair. This is going to really make this table that much more customizable, and it's going to really make it cool. So this is the Sidekick Vise. And if you haven't seen it before, it's kind of modeled off of a woodworker's vise. They normally mount them to the side of the table, and it keeps the top of the vise flat and doesn't protrude over the top of the surface. The normal vise gets mounted on the top, and it can kind of get in the way. So we have two different Sidekick vises. One's designed for the Dragon Wagon, where it bolts to the side of the table, and the rods that support the vise go underneath of it, and it's a little bit taller. The HD series table is a little bit different. It gets bolted through the top row of holes, and the rods go through the second row, and it keeps the vise much shorter. I want to adapt this vise to the DIY table, and here's how we're going to do it. This is an adapter plate. This is a universal block that we can weld, bolt, or mount to just about anything we want to. It doesn't even have to be a table. It could be a workbench or a side of a machine. So a couple unique features about it. It has a milled little relief in the top of it, and this is for the tooling. The tooling sticks out if we want to use this last row of holes, as you can see with this tacking bolt, as it hangs down underneath and grabs the bottom of the table. Now this relief right there allows you to miss that. I can mount this adapter block around the perimeter of the table as long as it doesn't interfere with the strap. So we also have to worry about not covering up a hole so that we keep this outside row open. But in my case, I'm going to mount this block dead center right here on the side. This is going to give me easy access to it and kind of be out of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is grind off this paint, measure it all up, and we'll use the mantis pliers to hold this on. These pliers have a big throat and a low anvil, kind of like a C-clamp. So I can position this clamp in a way that doesn't impede my welding. And the cool thing about it, it's got this little fishtail handle, so when I get it tight, snug it up just like that. I'm going to leave myself a little gap just in case I want to level the table up a little different down the road, and then weld it out. And just like that, we're done. The standard bolts that normally come with the Sidekick Vise will not fit this. So it's going to come with a little bit shorter ones, and you'll need those to put them on. And then to tighten these up, it uses a 3/8 hex key. The neat thing about this block is if we decide to take it off, it's easy. The main concept of this vise is for grinding, finishing, and work holding, not hammering or blacksmithing. So just keep that in mind. So let's pretend we want to just grind and polish this piece of plate steel right here. So if it was here, we'd have to worry about this part pushing down in the jaws, but this step prevents that from happening. That's a pretty nice feature. Of course, we can do anything we want with it. We can hold parts regularly with it. Grind, 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 grind. And what I like about it too is it's low, so that it's a nice comfortable elevation with the grinder. So tubing, this is great for if you want to remove mill scale. As you can see, this doesn't really hold very well, so we got to go down, and now we can remove the mill scale. If I want to process this piece of plate steel and I want to get the mill scale off of it, either I'm going to hold it with my hand and I'm going to mill scale it, which this could be bad. These things will rip your glove off in 2 seconds. Or we put a clamp on it and we process it. Right? But then I got to loosen the clamp up, move it around, do the other side. This is just one extra step that slows down the production. Now hopefully by the time this video comes out, we will have something like this. These are little stepped pins. So the idea is if I want to hold this thin piece of sheet metal, I want to hold it right on the sides, and then I can squeeze it nice and tight. And nothing sticks up above the plate so that I can process it. Drill, tap, scribe, measure, get the mill scale off of it. So there you go. I just ground off the mill scale in a few seconds without any adjustment. It's pretty fast. But what do we do if we have a weird shape like that? So these little pins spin in the hole, and what it allows us to do is kind of create a contoured path with them. We can grip onto weird parts using the 3-point method. Bada bing, bada boom. So obviously if I wanted to remove some of these burrs on the edge of this tube, I could clamp it in the vise this way, but we kind of get close to the table and I really can't get all the way around it. So what I can do is I can pinch this part at an angle with the pins and get this tube way out here, and it's much easier to bevel away from the table than it is in line with it. I really like the pins for even holding weird parts like this cool curve. The 3-pin system works awesome. Holding round is always kind of funky. These pins can go in these blind holes. And this is obviously much bigger than the vise, so what we can do is use the table and the vise together, and we can process the part half on, half off. So weird shapes like this, we can also process with the 2-pin system, or we can use a regular fence block and elevate the jaws really high. We can use some of the fixture tooling with the vise. So another neat tip is all the fireball tooling has these replaceable pins that go in the fence blocks. So you can thread these pins in these holes and use them like this. And the round also works just as well. And sometimes it might be nice just to keep these in there, protect the threads from any weld spatter or anything else. And then store the handle away on the side. That way it doesn't get broke off. Now let's talk maintenance. These tables have holes in them, and a lot of times these tables get crud in it. So this is going to be no exception with the vise. This vise has a whole bunch of holes on the top, some threaded, some blind. Naturally, we're going to get some crud in there. That's just the way it goes sometimes, right? So what we provide is this cool little brush in the Fireball maintenance package. This helps you clean out all the holes. And then a good shot of compressed air works great to blow out all the blind holes. So this little table I want to turn into a TIG station. And inevitably, every time I place a chair here to sit down and TIG weld, for some reason, it always ends up walking away. I don't know how they do it, but they end up missing. So what I want to do is add the Dragon Wagon chair to this little table. And that way, the chair always stays with it and nobody can take it away from me. So this chair was designed for the Dragon Wagon. It has a bracket on it, bolts to the side of the leg, anywhere in elevation, and then this articulating arm bolts to it. Now, when I was in testing designing this, my first instinct was just to build an arm off the edge of the table and then just have something floating. But these tables are so light, and if I were to sit on it, if the leg was cantilevered off the edge, we would tip over. So I came up with this. We have a single post with a caster on it with a seat on the top. This little wheel just kind of rolls around on the floor and does what it needs to do. Okay, but we need to control this post from going all over the place. And that's what this arm does. So this is how this thing works. This end of this arm is going to be permanently mounted to the table leg. Who knows what's going to happen with the floor? So this connection slides up and down to accommodate uneven floor. Let's talk about the bracket. The bracket has 2 3/4 holes in it, which we need to mount, weld, or do something to this leg. The simple solution is just to weld it. Obviously that would be very fast, but I think I'd like to bolt it in this application. We could even build a fancy bracket that hit on the corner if we wanted to get more articulation around, but I think we should bolt it for this experiment. What I have myself is a 3/4 transfer punch, and we're gonna transfer these holes into the leg. These are 2 inches apart if you just wanna take a measurement. 14 inches. So I'm gonna approximately put this at 16 inches to the top of this bracket. Make sure it's straight. So there's 100 ways to drill a 3/4 hole. I'm just gonna use some step bits. Okay, made quick work of that. So the hardware that comes with the chair is for the Dragon Wagon. You have these nice long bolts that are designed to go through these holes and all the way through the back side, right? So these bolts aren't gonna work. So you're gonna have to provide your own hardware depending on how you wanna mount the leg. That ain't going nowheres. This bracket has a regular hole and then a D-shaped hole on the bottom. We want the D-shaped hole down, and I'll show you why in a minute. So you're gonna find the pin with the anti-rotational little milled slot in it. This is gonna prevent the pin from rotating. It's gonna mate up with the D. It'll go just like that. Now you notice we have a little bit of clearance in here. We're gonna take up that gap with some washers. Now we put the chair thread this on. This is so that you can adjust the height. And then we have this locking collar right here that locks it down, and we're done. And then right here, this little basket is for knickknacks, tools, wrenches, punches, gloves, anything that you might set down. Because this table is pretty small, you kind of want to have a little bit of storage. Not bad. As you can see, I can not tip this little table over. I can kind of just scoot around. I can come over here to the grinder's vise. I got room for my TIG pedal. I can get up here nice and neat. The articulation's really nice. It rolls really smooth. I can come around to the other side. I can work on the edge of the table. Yeah, pretty versatile. And then it just kind of stores away. So just like that. I have a nice chair that stays right there. So I really like this table and how it turned out. And if I was to start all over again, back when I first started my career, I would look at buying this DIY kit. For one, it's pretty cheap. Two, it's very pro. And I like that I can accessorize it as I grow and get some money. And it's very simple parts: angle iron, trays, and a nice table. So I think this is a great option for a high schooler, a college student, or somebody just getting into the welding fab trade. The tooling that fits this table is going to be able to grow with you, which means if you decide to get a bigger table in the future, all the tooling with this is going to just switch right over. I'm sure you guys have questions on how to assemble this whole thing and maybe some weird quirks to adapt some of these other parts to other tables, but leave those questions at the Fireball Tool Forum. That way we can all help you answer and get you going. So until then, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next table video.